Hello friends, my name is Gabriel Saeed Reynolds. I'm a professor of Islamic Studies and Theology in the Department of Theology at the University of Notre Dame. And I'm delighted to welcome you to Finding Beauty in the Other, the inaugural World Religions World Church Conference at the University of Notre Dame. The conference is sponsored by the Notre Dame Department of Theology, above all, but also by the Office of Research, by the Kroc Institute for International Peace Studies, by the Institute for Scholarship in the Liberal Arts, and by the Center for Social Concern. The range of the topics that we will take up over the next 3 days, which include Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Africa, and the theology of religions generally, reflects different areas of focus in the World Religions World Church area, which is a doctoral program in the Department of Theology at Notre Dame. World Religions World Church, the department's newest area, brings together the study of world religions, cultural diversity in the church, and the history of interactions between the church and the religions of the world. Founded in 2009, World Religions World Church is meant to contribute to the theology department's mission to serve the university, the academy, the church, and society at large by bringing Christian theology into conversation with a rigorous study of religions and cultures. We already have a wonderful group of doctoral students in the program, some of whom you will meet during the Saturday morning grad student panel. And we look forward to receiving more applications to the program in the future. In fact, in your registration packet, you will find, among other documents, a brochure with further information on our program. But my task here is to say a few basic practical matters about the conference. This will be the most boring moment of the conference. Nevertheless, it has to be done. In a moment, I'll turn the stage over to my colleague, Professor Munim Suri, who will introduce the president of the university, Father John Jenkins, with some official words of welcome. For the moment, however, I'd like to acknowledge a few people. The organization of this conference involved an enormous amount of work by a number of people. I'd like to mention them briefly, and then perhaps at the end we can recognize them all at once. Professor Matthew Ashley, chair of the Department of Theology, has supported this conference of all stages of our work on it. My colleagues in the World Religions World Church area, Munim Suri, already mentioned, and Peter Casarella, have worked hard on the conference's planning. The director of our area, Professor Paul Coleman, has been a key figure as we worked on this conference. And much of the difficult and complicated work of conference planning and publicity has been done by the Office of Academic Conferences in the College of Arts and Letters, notably by Elizabeth Kuhn, along with Emily Hammock Mosby in the Department of Theology. So thanks to everyone. Finally, friends, a few notes about our program. This panel, if you note in the written program that you received, is scheduled to go from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. In fact, we're going to eat up some of that time at the beginning with these formalities. So the program will go, in fact, closer to 4:20 to 6:20. After that, all of the speakers who have traveled to Notre Dame for the conference to give presentations are invited to a dinner that will take place at the Morris Inn, just across the road, so we might gather together and walk over to the Morris Inn. Friends, please note that tonight, our keynote lecture by John Allen will take place not here, but in the Hesburgh Center, which is 2 buildings to the south. I think I'm pointing in the right direction. And the auditorium of the Hesburgh Center. That's where the Kroc and Kellogg Institutes are located. It's across the street from the bookstore. Our sessions tomorrow will be in this building, but not here, but rather in the main auditorium, which is downstairs. Saturday morning will be in a third location, also downstairs, but in another room, and you'll be directed to that Saturday morning. So you have to work hard to find us during this conference, but it'll be worth it. During all of the breaks, we will have coffee and snacks for your enjoyment in the main atrium downstairs. And before our sessions, tomorrow morning and Saturday morning, there will be a continental breakfast also there in the same place. Finally, all registered guests are welcome to join us for lunch tomorrow. That will be in the basement of this building. Are you keeping track of all this? And then for dinner tomorrow. Now friends, dinner tomorrow will be in a 4th location in Geddes Hall. But we'll bring you over there. We'll have a pilgrimage there together. The dinner, which is open to all registered guests, will be preceded by a Mass also in Geddes Hall, to which all are most warmly invited. And then after dinner, as you notice in your program, there'll be showing of a film of Gods and Men, which will also be in Geddes Hall. All of our lectures during this conference will be filmed, and the videos of the lectures in the entire conference will be available at our conference website. Friends, thank you for coming to this conference. I'm happy now to turn things over to my colleague, Professor Munim Suri, who will introduce Father Jenkins.
Thank you, Professor Reynolds. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Munim Suri. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce the President of the University of Notre Dame, the Reverend John Jenkins, CIC. As the title of this World Religions, World Choice Conference is on finding beauty in the other, it is worth noting that Father Jenkins is one of the finest scholars of Thomas Aquinas, the 13th century theologian, whose idea about beauty inspired this conference. In his book entitled Knowledge and Faith in Thomas Aquinas, published by Cambridge University Press in 1997, Father Jenkins offers his insightful discussion on, among other things, Aquinas' conception of beauty, including the way in which the beauty of God and His essence are contemplated and apprehended. It is in the spirit of contemplating the ways to God as beauty that we hold this conference. In times when understanding, suspicion, prejudice, and violence are higher than ever, openness to beauty in other religions and cultures can be seen as the way to escape narrowness and bigotry, and to develop a theology of beauty that can open up to ecumenical dialogue among all mankind. In his apostolic exhortation, Evangelii Gaudium, Pope Francis encouraged Christians to foster, I quote, renewed esteem for beauty as a means of touching the human heart, end quote. And this is also it is also evident in Father Jenkins' vision of this institution, namely to make Notre Dame, I quote, become a wellspring of heart and mind devoted to the common good, end quote. Father John is now serving his third term as the president of this beautiful campus, first elected as the 17th president in 2015. Over the past 10 years, under his leadership, Notre Dame has expanded rapidly in terms of research and scholarship, as well as external engagement. Equally important is, as a Catholic university, Notre Dame continues to uphold its uncompromising commitment to the search for truth through rigorous, innovative teaching and inquiry. Father Jenkins expressed this commitment explicitly in his presidential inauguration in 2005, saying, I quote, our faith inspired our use of reason, and reason sharpened our understanding of faith. Together, together both serve our search for the truth. End quote. Friends, please join me in welcoming Father John Jenkins, the President of the University of Notre Dame.
Well, that was a very kind introduction. I want to thank you for it. And thank everyone for being here for this conference. I don't generally welcome conferences, but I wanted to welcome this one. I think that as we look back on 50 years since the Nostra Aetate, since the documents of Vatican II were promulgated, those documents, we recognize a history of engaging, our obligation as a Catholic university, engage other faith traditions to try to understand, to try to come to an understanding of them and to engage in dialogue with them. And we have instituted, every year we institute a forum on a particular topic, and this year is to celebrate those documents. And so this conference, I think, is a wonderful expression of that call to dialogue, to understand, to deepen our understanding of God through dialogue with other religions. It's not something we do in addition to other things. Being a Catholic university really is at the heart of what we do. So I want to thank everyone who's involved in putting this together. It's great to have you. Munu mentioned Aquinas. I remember when I was an undergraduate, and I was really taken with Aquinas' thought. And one theme that goes through his writings is the deep sense of the mystery of God, the sense that God transcends our categories, transcends our understanding. We can speak about him only analogously. And so there's always in Aquinas a sort of attempt to speak about God, but recognition that our categories fall short. And that to approach God is to approach God with that understanding. I think that Thomistic thought helps me, at least, with this idea of religious dialogue. That we understand God in our traditions, but we also understand the limits of our understanding. And through engaging other traditions, we and they can deepen our understanding and appreciation of the mystery of God. So I know I stand with my colleagues here at Notre Dame to recognize this is really a wonderful theological function of dialogue, and that through this kind of dialogue we can come to know God more fully, and what could be a better concept to focus on than the concept of beauty. One of Aquinas' transcendentals that was said most fully of God in us in a more limited way, or the creation in a more limited way. So I just want to commend everyone who worked hard to put this conference together, and thank all of you, particularly our visitors, for coming for this conference and being here with us. I won't be able to stay for the whole thing, but I know it will be a great conference. I look forward to the discussion that comes after me. So thank you. God bless all.
My name is Mark Noel. I'm a member of the History Department at the University of Notre Dame and privileged to serve as an adjunct professor in the World Church, World Religion program. And I'm actually just delighted and honored to welcome you to this first session of the conference, Finding Beauty in the Other. We're privileged to have two distinguished presenters and two distinguished respondents for this first session, which is devoted to the topic, Beauty and Hinduism. They've agreed that for this session, we'll hear first from each presenter, followed by a respondent, and then some discussion from the floor about that presentation. Then we'll move to the second paper, the second respondent, and the second discussion. And they've all been told how long they should take, so there should be time for all of this. I'm privileged to introduce first Professor Francis X. Clooney, S.J., who is Parkman Professor of Divinity and Director of the Center for the Study of World Religions at the Harvard Divinity School. Among Professor Clooney's many well-regarded books are several directly related to our concerns today, including The Truth, the Way, the Life, Christian Commentary on the Three Holy Mantras of the Shriv Vaishnava Hindus, and his Hiding Places Darkness, a Hindu Catholic Theopoetics of Divine Absence. To comment, we are glad to hear from Sucharita Adluri, who teaches the religious traditions of Asia at Claremont State University and has published widely on several aspects of Hindu-Christian engagement. So please join me in welcoming Professor Clooney to talk about the way of beauty, a two-way path among traditions.
So I just, to be succinct, just express my pleasure at the invitation to be here, part of this conference. It's a really exciting event and a wonderful way to mark the 50th anniversary of Nostra Aetate in Vatican II. And the theme of opening up the transcendental, beautiful, I think is really exciting. I also felt a little bit daunted being the first speaker on the first day. I was hoping that all the planners of the conference would go first, and then I could see how they did it, and by tomorrow totally revise my paper and start. But that's not possible. So I came up with a paper that's probably about 2 hours long, and you have a handout, I have the paper, and I ended up depending entirely on my PowerPoint, which I will go through in my half hour. I've asked my respondent, Rita Adluri, to wave her hand or something when my time is up, and I'll try to be succinct. So what I did in taking this topic up, and realizing again that I'm the first paper, is this theme of kind of the beautiful as an interreligious category and crossing the boundaries. And did some research, as one would do, from what Pope Francis had said about the topic back to Pope Paul VI in the 1970s. Many of these salient quotes are on your handout, and I will be rushing through them just because of time limits. But certainly in the official teaching of the Church, this is one of the first important statements at this Marian Congress. The double path that is opened up for us. The first is the way of truth, the way of study that is biblical, historical, and theological, and in the context of this Marian conference, looking at the place of Mary within the mystery of Christ and the Church. But there is a